They believed the end of the world was coming. They stocked weapons, burned their IDs, and followed a man who claimed he could hear God's voice. I was born into that world, and I barely made it out alive. This is Twists of Faith, where belief turns dark and truth unravels. In today's story, a survivor of a modern-day Doomsday cult, still living underground. The group was called the Remnant Ark. To outsiders, it was a prayer community, tucked deep in the woods of northern Idaho. But inside, it was something far more dangerous. Founded in 1999 by a former preacher named Elias Warwick, the Remnant Ark believed modern churches were tainted by sin, and that God was only speaking to them now. They preached a hardline end-times message: stockpile supplies, cut ties with Babylon, meaning the outside world, and prepare for the final cleansing. Members were required to turn over all property, cut off family, and adhere to what Elias called the 77 Laws of Purity. I was born inside that compound. We lived without electricity, no phones, no school. We were told the world outside was ruled by demons, that God would destroy it in our lifetime. Every week, Elias would announce new prophetic visions. Sometimes we had to fast for days. Sometimes we were made to dig trenches in case the world ended in fire. I remember my 10th birthday. My gift? A shovel and a warning. Soon you'll be burying the unbelievers. When I turned 15, I started asking questions. Why can't I write letters to Grandma? Why did Sister Hannah disappear after talking back? The answer was always the same. You doubt because Satan is speaking to you. But it wasn't just me. Quietly, others began noticing inconsistencies. A locked trailer, missing supplies, children disappearing from morning gatherings without explanation. One day, I found a burned notebook in the fire pit. Inside were names, schedules, checklists, and a word I had never heard before: extraction protocol. Elias wasn't preparing us for God's judgment. He was preparing us for his own war. With evidence mounting, a small group of us began planning to leave. But escaping meant risking everything. The compound was guarded at night, and members were told to report traitors. One night, I slipped out with 2 others. We crawled through the woods for 6 hours until we found a highway. We flagged down a truck driver. He called the police. What happened next was not what we expected. The authorities already knew, but they couldn't do anything because technically the Remnant Ark wasn't doing anything illegal. No official records, no confirmed crimes, just isolation, secrecy, and fear. I was placed in a foster home. I had to learn how to use money, order food, go to school for the first time. I still hear Elias's voice in my dreams. I still jump when someone quotes scripture out of context. But the worst part? They're still out there. The compound moved. It changed names. Elias, still preaching, still gathering followers, and because they know how to hide in plain sight, no one stopped them. If you think cults are a thing of the past, you're wrong. They don't always wear robes. They don't always chant. Sometimes they just look like a prayer group. 5 red flags of a doomsday cult: isolation, cutting off outside contact; charismatic leader with new revelation; obedience over truth; apocalyptic urgency, constant fear of the world ending; punishment or shunning for doubt. If your faith begins to control your world instead of strengthen it, it's time to question who you're really following. And if someone says only they hear from God, run. This has been Twists of Faith, where belief turns dark and truth unravels. Have a story like this? Drop it in the comments. Subscribe for weekly episodes exposing spiritual abuse, cults, and hidden church crimes. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your faith your own.